I'm Mandy Arola, a marketing director and LinkedIn content freelancer experimenting with AI. From automations to AI agents, I'm testing how these tools cut through the busy work so marketers can spend more time on creative strategy. In this series, I'll show you what actually works. This week, ChatGPT has entered the browser wars with the introduction of their new browser, Atlas, an AI integrated browser that features ChatGPT and allows you to use AI to execute tasks on a web page. I've had a few moments to play with Atlas this week, and whether or not you want to use it as a marketer, it's important that you understand what is on the horizon for AI capabilities as it relates to your brand and selling products online. Let's take a look at how a visitor to your website can use a browser like Atlas to search your website and look for more information. All right, here we are in the Atlas browser. I do have a paid account with ChatGPT. It looks just like a basic browser window or even just ChatGPT itself. So let's come in here and you can enter a URL or a question. So we're going to go to National Software School. And then when we click Ask ChatGPT up here in the top, it opens up a side panel. But let's see how it handles some questions. All right, so I already like this. It's not just giving the name of the program, it is also saying how long it is, the dates that it starts, that it's live online. It's basically pulling everything from the table that is on this page. So it also only pulled where we have an apply now button. It did not pull where applications are closed. So it did a really good job on that. It also realized that there are some Jumpstart programs that are also open for registration. So it offered to pull that information. So this information was readily available to ChatGPT on this page. Let's ask about pricing since that's not on this page. And here it listed out not just the open programs, but all of our programs and how much they cost. And again, it has links to the sources. So it is showing where you can find that information. Mentions that there's also some alternative tuition plans, such as our opportunity tuition. So it is pulling some good information. It's also asking if you want to pull the details for each of them in a single table. So this is doing a pretty good job at taking the content of the site and giving it to someone who maybe doesn't want to do all the digging themselves. Let's try asking about something that's not as specific as just give me the cost. Let's ask about the differences between programs. So this is essentially a great question and one we get a lot at NSS. This is acting like a full-on chatbot, right? It is having a conversation with the user, and I haven't done anything other than put up the website, right? So it is pulling this content and putting it together and answering some of these frequently asked questions. And if we just keep scrolling through here, this one did not cite its sources, but it has been doing a lot of that. So what I could ask is about its sources. But there's one other question I want to ask because I think it does pull in outside sources and we can dive into some of that. So let's ask about salaries. So now it's pulling in salary data. We provide some salary data on our website in our community impact report. So this can be helpful for students who are looking, but it also can be misleading, right? Looking at software development shows an average base salary of around 120 to 130 per year. Well, that's not saying anything specific to Nashville. It's not saying anything specific to junior level roles. Here's an entry level piece, but it's still not aligned with the Nashville market. And so it is still not quite accurate. So it could overpromise because it's pulling in from outside sources and they don't have the context of understanding the Nashville market and the real data that we have and that we share in things like info sessions. But you can expect that this is how someone is going to come in and use your site if they are researching your program, your product, your brand. They can now tap into a wealth of information. All right, let's ask a question. Well, that comes from one of our blog posts. What happens after you apply? So it talks about just cite a source. It actually cites our blog post on it, and it walks them through these steps. And this is accurate. It's not a complicated process. So here it is pulling from some of our different pages on our website, everything from a blog post to FAQs and even just our actual program page. So it's doing a good job at gathering the information, and all of what it's showing here is accurate. If you have a brand or a product website, I encourage you to come out and see how these tools are responding so that you are aware of how people visiting your website will be able to use these tools to mine for more information. They may not be mining for it today or using AI to do that today, but they will be soon. This is going to become a normal thing. And I think people will become a little more lazy when researching products and things, that they will ask the questions rather than necessarily reading all your content. But if your content is not there, then that they're not going to get the results or the answers to the questions they're looking for. So you still have to create the content. You still have to get it out on your website, whether it's program or product pages, blogs, FAQs. You need that information out there so that AI can mine that and utilize it. The other thing to note here is how current this is. It's actually reading the page today. One way for us to know that is this application closed last week. And so it's reading a current page and it's not listing this as an open program. So it is doing a good job at mining the content on the site. I'm sure it's not going to be 100% accurate, but it also means that I need to make sure that even some of the older content on the site that people maybe don't visit as often, AI is going to be reading that. And so it's super important that everything is current and up to date. So that's an introduction to using ChatGPT's Atlas browser to be able to search a website, and something you definitely should check out for your brand, even if you're not ready to use it for yourself, and see what information it's pulling from not only your site, but the outside sources that it is also adding into the mix. Next week, I'm going to be back with what ChatGPT Atlas is really hitting the market for. And that's the ability to take actions such as adding products to a cart. I've experimented with that a little bit, so I'm excited to show you that as well. And I will post that next week.